Hello, I'm your host, Neil Howard, here on Health Professional Radio. Glad that you could join us once again. Thanks. Got a guest in studio with us. Going to have a brief conversation with Mr. Jeff Kozloff. He's Chief Executive Officer at TrialScope, and he's joining us on the program today to talk about how clinical trial sponsors are seeking to connect better with patients. They've recently launched TrialScope Engage. Welcome to the program, Jeff. Give us a bit of background about yourself. Thanks so much for taking the time, and let's talk about TrialScope.
Thanks, Neil. This is Jeff Kozloff. I am the CEO of TrialScope, lifelong entrepreneur. TrialScope's the third software company that I've run. It's venture-backed, and we've got a great team of about 45 people in Jersey City, New Jersey.
As a serial entrepreneur, have you always been involved in the pharmaceutical industry as far as software development and distribution is concerned?
I've spent most of my career in life sciences and specifically in the pharmaceutical industry. I've straddled two different parts of life sciences. One, the commercial side, which means more on the market research, customer insights, marketing, sales part of the organization. And then I've spent about the last 5 or 6 years on the clinical side of the business, supporting various challenges related to clinical trial recruiting.
Now, we've all heard about the clinical trials. We hear about it in all of our advertisements about drugs and devices, FDA approvals, things of that nature. Now, talk about briefly the industry of clinical trials. What are some of the challenges? We think that, you've just got this huge pool of people that are just jumping on the bandwagon to get into these trials, no problem. That's not really the case, is it?
No, quite the opposite. Awareness and access to clinical trials is pretty limited. But if you think about, your daily life and your family, anyone that is taking a flu vaccine or an allergy medicine or antibiotic, obviously there's tens of thousands of brave volunteers, who've gone through a trial to make all these terrific medicines available to us. And so, as an industry, we need to continue to do a better job promoting not only the awareness of trials, but the benefits of participating, and then most importantly, making sure we can connect interested people, to those trials. And that's been historically a relatively tough challenge because most trials are conducted at research centers, academic medical centers, and oftentimes, there's a lot of burden on the patient to, they're not being conducted by their community physician. So how do you connect them to those sites?
What about phone calls? What about flyers? What about sometimes we hear on the radio that they're conducting this trial, that trial, or the other. Is it just a matter of getting to these places in addition to knowing about them at all?
Sure. I mean, we've all seen the flyers on the telephone poles, but obviously with the advent of the internet and digital media, it's been able to, tap into, various patient networks and word of mouth. And that's what we're doing here at TrialScope, is that we're working with pharmaceutical sponsors to improve, patient access and awareness via their websites of the trials that they're recruiting for, and then making sure using some, geolocation techniques that they can find trials near them, and then to give them more of a curated or handheld experience, to help them screen in and then get connected with the sites directly. The previous way of doing it is, they might have to go to a website called clinicaltrials.gov, which was written more for researchers than patients, so it's not written in, health literate best practices. It doesn't have good iconography or imagery. It's not very inviting for a patient. So there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies that are, looking to improve that model and make it more accessible for patients, and that's what we're doing. In addition to that, I think one of the really exciting areas as well is not only on the front end of trials of, getting people access and aware of these, but once people do participate, a big movement around data sharing and providing trial information back to these brave heroes. Historically, people that would participate never really had visibility into what happened in the trial that they were on. And so there's a big movement to share what's called plain language summaries, with those trial participants and with the public in general to educate about the results of those trials. And again, it's another area that TrialScope is leading the charge on.
Are all of these issues addressed within TrialScope Engage that you've recently launched?
The TrialScope Engage platform does cover those. I mean, it's more suited in the front end, again, with the awareness and the access. However, some of our sponsors do post their plain language summaries on TrialScope Engage. We have another product called TrialSummaries.com that's a multi-sponsor portal, meaning that multiple pharmaceutical companies post their trial summaries up there as well. And the nice thing, again, is that patients who participate in trials can come in and sign up for alerts, and then once the results are available, we send those. We digitally distribute those to the patients, and that's just again, that's a fantastic site, a fantastic service. Something 5 years ago, most patients, and still even today, a large majority don't know what's happened in the trial that they participated in.
Now, you mentioned a handheld interactive experience with this platform. Does it also give feedback as far as the screening process is concerned quickly? Because not all who apply, even with this platform, are going to qualify. Is that a fair assumption?
Correct. So there's something, all studies have what's called inclusion and exclusion criteria. And so just because you might have type 2 diabetes or you might have asthma, there's other criteria that the researchers are looking at. And so, yes, our site does have the ability to plug in a screener for these patients and then make sure before they would get connected to a site that it's applicable to them.
How accessible is the platform to the patient? I mean, is this a free app? Is it a subscription? How does it actually work on the behalf of the patient?
So we actually host these trial finder sites on behalf of the pharmaceutical companies right on their corporate websites. So if you go to Bayer's clinical trial homepage or Bayer's corporate website, if you go to GSK, for example, or Novo Nordisk, we have many other customers on there. You can find these hosted experiences, and it is free, to the general public. And again, that's the best way, obviously, to promote awareness. It has social sharing tools in there, so maybe you might be reading about a trial for a neighbor or a loved one. You can easily share that information with them via email. You can share it via social media. You could print it, take it in, have a discussion with your physician. Again, there's a lot of exciting tools on the platform to help connect patients to information that they might be looking for.
You mentioned the user-friendly aspect of the platform. Is it as user-friendly for the researchers and the physicians as well as the patients? Is it in plain language that everyone can relate to, or is it more geared to the patient than it is to the researcher when it's trying to connect these people for these trials? Yeah,
that's an interesting, an exciting, question and finding for us as we've continued to do customer research and user research. The Engage platform really is an authoritative hub of clinical trial information. And so we've seen not only patients, come to the site, but like you said, outside researchers and clinicians, advocacy groups, again, because it is, easily to search information, digestible information about clinical trials that the pharmaceutical company is sharing. We see a number of visitors from across the world that are visiting, these sites and visiting them on a variety of devices, mobile and tablets, as well as their PCs.
Well, Jeff, where can we go online and get some more information about TrialScope and TrialScope Engage, as well as the other products that you have there?
Sure. The best place to go is to our corporate homepage, which is www.trialscope.com, all one word.
Jeff Kozloff, thank you so much for joining us on Health Professional Radio today.
Neil, really appreciate it. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Transcripts and audio of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, listen in, and download at SoundCloud. Be sure and visit our affiliates page at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au.
Thank you for listening to Health Professional Radio. We're very proud to be an independent broadcaster providing our content free of charge to you, the listener. One of the ways that we're able to remain free and independent is by having people like you become patrons. You can support Health Professional Radio simply by visiting hpr.fm and clicking the button that says Become a Patron. Your patronage of even just $1 a month lets us know that you're there, which in turn makes us more valuable to advertisers. And, of course, if you're able to afford more, then we would certainly appreciate the support. My name is Toby Longhurst from Health Professional Radio. Please visit hpr.fm, click the Become a Patron button, and support us if you can.